I destroyed my nephew's gaming PC after he threw my daughter's PS console from the second floor of my house. Now my sister wants to sue me. I'm 36 years old and the father of 3 amazing kids. My oldest son, Hassan, is 18, my middle child, Derek, is 15, and my youngest, Allison, is 11. Ever since I was a kid, I've had a deep passion for video games. That passion stayed with me throughout my life, and when I became a father, I wanted to share it with my children. My 2 oldest boys inherited my love for gaming and started playing with me from an early age. When Allison was born, I wasn't sure if she'd like video games too. I had my doubts, but I slowly introduced her to them, and to my surprise, she loved them. Over time, she became a passionate and talented gamer. Watching her enjoy video games just as much as I did filled me with pride. Allison is a kind, well-mannered, and incredibly smart girl. She does well in school, always brings home great grades, and genuinely tries to be a good person. Recently, as a reward for her hard work, I gifted her a PS console. She was beyond thrilled. Seeing her happiness was one of the most fulfilling moments I've had as a father. I have a sister who has a 9-year-old son named Kevin. Since he was little, she spoiled him to the extreme. She always believed he deserved everything he wanted and gave it to him without considering the consequences. Many of us in the family warned her that this wasn't the best approach, but she always insisted Kevin was just a kid and deserved to enjoy his childhood. As a result, Kevin became increasingly demanding and inconsiderate of other people's feelings. My sister kept indulging him, which only made things worse. Kevin grew arrogant and showed very little respect for others. Whenever Kevin came to my house, he'd run straight to Allison's room and try to use her PS console. Even though he had a powerful gaming PC of his own, he always seemed more interested in what he didn't have. Naturally, Allison didn't want to let him use her console, it was a special gift, and she felt responsible for taking care of it. This led to constant conflict. Kevin didn't understand no, and his behavior would turn aggressive when he didn't get his way. One time, angry because Allison wouldn't let him play, Kevin bit her hand so hard he left a serious wound. We had to take her to the doctor. After that, I told my sister her son was no longer welcome in my home. She got upset, claiming I was overreacting and that Kevin just wanted to play. She even implied that Allison was being selfish for not sharing. Things between our families became tense. My sister kept defending Kevin, and I couldn't allow her son's behavior to threaten my daughter's well-being. Anytime Kevin's name came up, the atmosphere at home grew uncomfortable. Eventually, I decided to host a small family gathering. I invited only my sister and her husband, but she showed up with Kevin. I was irritated and reminded her that I didn't want her son in my house. She apologized, saying she had no one else to leave him with and promised to keep an eye on him. Reluctantly, I let them stay. During the party, while the adults were chatting downstairs, we suddenly heard a loud crash outside. We rushed upstairs to find Allison crying uncontrollably. Her PS console was in pieces on the ground outside, Kevin had thrown it from the second floor. Through tears, Allison explained that Kevin had tried to turn on the console, and when she tried to stop him, he shoved her, unplugged it, and, in a fit of rage, threw it out the window. I was overwhelmed with fury. I went looking for Kevin and found him completely unbothered. I grabbed him by the arm, yelled at him, and demanded he understand the severity of what had done. Only then did Kevin start crying. That's when my sister showed up. Seeing me upset, she slapped me and screamed at me to get away from her son. Things quickly escalated. Other family members had to step in to calm us down. She kept defending Kevin, while I demanded that she take responsibility for his behavior. The situation spiraled out of control. Eventually, the others calmed us both down. Several relatives scolded Kevin for his behavior and criticized my sister for her lack of discipline. Some even said they wouldn't be inviting her to future family gatherings. That was the final straw for me. I told my sister and Kevin to get out of my house immediately, and warned that if they didn't leave, I'd call the police. Kevin threw a tantrum, screaming and kicking. My sister had to drag him to the car while he cried and flailed. It was a pathetic scene. That night, after comforting Allison, I felt broken. Seeing her so sad and disappointed shattered me. She had lost something she loved deeply because of a spoiled child and an irresponsible mother. That's when I made an impulsive decision. I knew Kevin had just received a brand new gaming PC as a gift from my sister. I also knew that she often left her windows unlocked. Fueled by anger, I waited until they were out, slipped in through a side window, and destroyed Kevin's PC. I made sure to leave no trace and wasn't seen by anyone. I knew what I was doing was wrong, but it felt like justice. Kevin and my sister needed to learn that actions have consequences. Later that night, my sister called me in a rage. She accused me of destroying Kevin's PC and threatened to sue me. I asked her if she had any proof. She went silent, then admitted she didn't, but claimed she was sure it was me. I hung up without another word. A few days later, I received an official court notice. My sister had decided to go through with the lawsuit. I felt betrayed, but also determined. She had no evidence, and I was ready to face the consequences of my actions if it meant standing up for my daughter. On the day of the trial, I walked into the courtroom with my heart in my hands, but with the conviction that I had acted out of love. My actions were reckless, but they came from a desire to protect my daughter and to put an end to a situation that had gone too far. When the session began, my sister's lawyer gave a dramatic speech, portraying me as a reckless man who acted without thinking. He claimed Kevin was traumatized and demanded that I pay for the damaged PC and compensate the child for emotional suffering. When it was my turn to speak, I tried to stay calm. I explained everything to the judge, from the time Kevin bit Allison to the day he threw her PS out the window. I described how my sister refused to discipline him and constantly defended his behavior. I also pointed out that she had no proof ID destroyed the PC, as she had no exterior cameras on her property. But then came the unexpected. Her lawyer pulled out a surprise, a security camera from inside my sister's home, located on the second floor, facing the hallway I had entered through. My sister didn't even know it existed, her husband had installed it for safety reasons. The footage didn't show me destroying the PC, but it did capture me sneaking in through the window. That was enough to tip the case against me. I was found guilty of trespassing and property damage. The judge ordered me to pay my sister 3 times the value of the destroyed PC. I heard the ruling with a heavy heart, full of rage and regret. I knew what I did was wrong, but watching Kevin destroy my daughter's console without facing any consequences was something I couldn't accept. The sentence was harsh, and the news spread quickly through the family. Some looked at me with judgment, others with understanding. The shame and humiliation were almost unbearable, but I chose not to drag out the legal battle and decided to pay the fine. I paid every cent, even if it meant sacrificing a large portion of my savings. Time passed, and the wound left by the incident slowly began to heal. I kept working hard, and over the next few months, my financial situation improved. I had promised myself I would make it up to my daughter for what she had lost. So, once I managed to save a bit more, I bought Allison a new PlayStation, and along with it, a new phone, to bring back some of the happiness that had been taken from her. Seeing the smile on her face when I gave her those gifts was one of the most rewarding moments since the whole disaster began. But, to my surprise, not long after that, my sister showed up again. She came to my house with Kevin, and I already had a feeling she was there to complain or demand something. But this time, her request left me speechless. She wanted me to buy a phone for Kevin too, because, according to her, it was unfair that Allison had one and he didn't. She used the same speech as always, claiming Kevin was just a child and that I had a responsibility to treat all my nephews equally. In that moment, I felt my blood boil. I looked at her in disbelief and tried to stay calm, though it wasn't easy. After everything I had been through, after paying 3 times the cost of that damn gaming PC, she still thought she had the right to ask me for something. I took a deep breath, trying not to explode. I told her that what I did for my daughter was my business, and Kevin had absolutely no right to any of the gifts I gave Allison. I reminded her that I was still paying the price for standing up for my daughter, and I didn't owe her, or Kevin, anything. As always, my sister tried to make me feel guilty, saying I was being unfair and traumatizing Kevin by treating him differently. But this time, I didn't let her manipulate me. I ended the conversation firmly, telling her I had already done more than enough and that she needed to take responsibility for raising her own child. I made it clear, if Kevin wanted a phone, she could buy it for him, because I certainly wouldn't. She stormed out of my house in a rage, dragging Kevin along, and I stood there watching them walk away, feeling a strange mix of relief and exhaustion. I knew this would probably cause more tension within the family. But at that point, I didn't care. For the first time, I felt like I was putting an end to the entire situation. And despite all the consequences, I looked at my daughter playing happily with her new PlayStation and knew deep down I'd do it all over again to make sure she felt protected. Months after the incident, things finally began to return to normal. My sister stopped contacting me, and the family atmosphere began to settle, though there was still a lingering resentment. I focused on my work and on giving Allison and my other children the best life I could. But I had no idea another storm was about to break. One day, I was stunned to learn that my sister's house had been robbed. During the robbery, several items were stolen, including Kevin's precious gaming PC. She was devastated, and I was genuinely surprised by the news. But that surprise quickly turned to frustration when I found out she had decided to accuse me of the robbery. She claimed I was still bitter about everything that had happened and that I had broken into her house as a way to get revenge. When I received the summons to testify, I couldn't believe her audacity. To me, it was clear she simply couldn't accept that the world didn't revolve around her or Kevin's whims. But since I was already tired of this war, I prepared to defend myself once more. On the day of the hearing, I walked into the courtroom with a heavy heart. My lawyer had warned me how unpredictable cases like this could be. But I was determined to tell the truth. The session began, and my sister's lawyer presented their case, arguing that I had both the motive and the opportunity. He emphasized the fact that I had already been found guilty once before, painting me as someone prone to revenge. But this time, there was new evidence. An indoor security camera had caught the thief in action. My sister was confident it would be enough to finally incriminate me. But when the video was played, I almost laughed. The footage showed a hooded man climbing in through a window, but there was a crucial detail: the thief had a very visible tattoo on his neck. Something I definitely didn't have. I even lifted my collar right there in court to show the judge I had no tattoo. My sister looked more and more confused by the second. The judge reviewed the evidence and, after a brief analysis, concluded that there was no proof linking me to the robbery. I was cleared of all charges. My sister looked stunned, but things only got worse for her after the trial. I decided it was time to strike back. I hired a lawyer and filed a lawsuit against her for slander and defamation, demanding compensation for the damage to my reputation and the emotional distress she had caused. The case moved quickly, and given the baseless nature of her accusations, the ruling came in my favor. The judge ordered her to pay me an amount that, ironically, was even higher than the compensation I had once paid her. She left the courtroom humiliated, and I couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. In the days that followed, my sister avoided all contact with me, and the tension that had once been explosive turned into a heavy, awkward silence. I knew our relationship was completely broken, but there was something satisfying in knowing she had finally learned I wouldn't let her bully me anymore. That day, when I returned home after hearing that the payment would soon be processed, I sat on the couch and reflected on everything that had happened. I looked at myself in the mirror hanging on the wall, and a slow smile spread across my face. It was in that moment, alone in the quiet of my home, that I spoke out loud, as if confessing to myself. Yes, I was the one who stole that gaming PC. I remembered how carefully I had planned it. I knew my sister and Kevin would be out of the house that day, like they were every week. I waited for the perfect moment. I wore a hoodie to cover my face and used a henna tattoo on my neck, something temporary that I knew would fade in a few days. The idea of the fake tattoo was childish, but also clever. I knew that even if someone saw the footage, they'd never think the thief was me. I disassembled the PC into parts and got rid of the components in different places, making sure they couldn't be traced. As I listened to myself confess, I felt a strange satisfaction. Of course, I knew what I had done was wrong. It was an impulsive act, fueled by rage and the need to show that I couldn't be manipulated by my sister anymore. But deep down, I felt like I had finally taken control, and now, she'd think twice before trying to intimidate me again. I didn't feel proud, but I didn't regret it either. Sometimes, life pushes us to make decisions we never imagined, and this was mine. What truly mattered to me in the end was that my daughter was safe, that my sister finally knew she couldn't control me, and that, somehow, I had gotten justice for us both. And there, in the comforting silence of my home, I knew that no matter how twisted the path had been, I didn't regret the choice I made.